Fire. From the beginning of time, man has used it to cook food, boil water, for warmth, light, and warn away any predators. Man's best friend throughout time, mastering it, manipulating it, and using it for all time.
Hi, I'm Chris Davidson, and here we have the multi-fuel stove from China, a great way of mastering that fire. Able to cook or boil your food. Not that you'd want to boil your food, of course, but this great little device is fantastic considering it runs off liquid fuel, and you can pretty much get that from anywhere, especially if you're biking it across Europe or something and you've got it, you can siphon fuel from your motorbike and pop it into this thing. This thing is mostly made out of metal, even if on parts it does look like it's made out of plastic, especially around here. You can see like it looks like it could be made out of plastic or something, but I can assure you that's made out of metal, with the odd necessary bits made out of rubber. Now down here I can comfortably feel around here whilst this is going off without actually feeling any particular heat, which I was mostly worried about when I first got this stove. I've actually used this stove for hours on end for a whole group of people. There was about 12 of us, and it was a joy to use. Occasionally, like now, you'd need to pump up the stove using the little pump on the side, so to put pressure in the chamber. The way this stove works is you pump air into the chamber. It obviously boils up to the surface, and the air puts pressure onto the liquid inside, which I'm using paraffin at the moment. Now the liquid fuel then gets pushed into this tube here, and then goes up and over the flames and under to push it through to create the flames. Now there's a valve on here to control how fast it comes out, and you've got great control over the speed on here. And what is also great about this stove is it can reach a much hotter temperature than your standard gas stove, which I thought would be fantastic really. This stove has all the instructions on the side that you'd need to know how to use it, and you can buy it using the link below. Using this stove is an absolute joy. But whilst using it, you really do need to try and control everything that's going on. It's like comparing a gas barbecue to a coal barbecue. You know, the coal barbecue, you need to do so much more to look after it, but there's something about it that makes it feel more worthwhile, and especially with the food tastes better. Operating this is almost like an art, making sure there's enough pressure in the chamber by pumping it using this little pump, making sure the valve is open just the right amount so it doesn't go out and it's not too strong for whatever you're cooking. Simmering on here can be a pretty difficult task, but it can be done, which I did make a lot. I had this huge wok on top of here and was boiling, was simmering it for several hours to get rid of the tomato water, the water in the tomato, to make a tomato puree for a pasta I was making, and that was to feed 12 people. One thing I was worried about with this stove was the heat actually heating up this chamber and it eventually exploding. Then I realised as the pressure actually built inside because of the boiling liquid, the more pressure would be put on the tubing, which means that it'll be slowly releasing the pressure through the tubing and forcing it out even more. So that wasn't so much of a worry. And then I thought, what if the liquid set alight? Being self-contained inside the actual chamber and not actually mixing with oxygen, it means that the fire is starved, so there wouldn't be any combustion happening and it wouldn't explode. So those worries went out the window as soon as I realised that. To actually light the stove, it can be a pretty difficult thing. What you would need is a long stick like this skewer here, to actually get in between the gap between this top plate here and the actual side plate here, and then to actually get underneath where the actual spout spurts out the liquid fuel. Now you douse the stick in liquid fuel, and you've got to make sure you have a lighter handy or match or whatever you'll be using, and then you turn the valve slowly until anti-clockwise until some liquid fuel comes out. Which, there you go, I've got a bit of liquid fuel. Now my stove is still a little hot because I've just been using it, so that's why I'm getting this vapour here, which will probably set alight if I did it. And then as you can see, the stick sets alight then. And then, I didn't mean to do that, but the stove is still hot, so it did it automatically. But what you've got to do is you have to fill this whole area with paraffin, and setting alight this piece of fabric at the bottom here. Now this will burn for a while to make the pipe on the stove hotter, and then as it grows hotter and hotter, the paraffin inside the pipe will turn into a gas, which you'll have to wait a while until it turns into a gas. Oh God. Okay, I went a bit wrong there, but generally as soon as the pipe gets hot enough and it turns into a gas, and you still have flames in the bottom, it will start sucking up the flames and creating the yellow flames, as you can see here. This is in between a gas and liquid state at the moment, turning more and more into a gas all the time. But eventually the yellow flames will disappear along with the black smoke disappearing. If I turn it up here, try and do it faster. You can see this constantly going in between a liquid and gas state. While you're hearing the smacking sound. But eventually it will get hot enough to be constantly in a gas state, where it will be a pure blue hot flame. This thing is almost like a jet throwing this fuel out. But once it is a pure blue flame like mine is now, that will be the best time to put on your pan and start cooking.